What is up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Johnny Blacklight Raw. So basically, man, this is just kind of a new show where I can kind of just talk about anything and everything and kind of just keep it super random, you know what I mean? I feel like I have my other shows where I do my reviews and they feel fun. I like them. They're really cool. They just feel a little too structured, I guess. I want to keep them structured, keep them the way they are, but then I can have this show as an outlet to kind of just ramble a little bit about that whole Johnny Blacklight thing and nostalgia and all that kind of stuff. So nothing too focused, but again, like hobbies, nostalgia stuff, all the things that spark joy, basically, is kind of the focus of what I want to do with everything when it comes to content creation. And that's all personal and that's all different for everybody. And I know I share similar interests with other people, so I figured I'd put some stuff out there as this whole Johnny Blacklight thing, and we'll kind of see what we can do with it. This show specifically will stay away from like work talk, some personal life talk when necessary. Probably not too detailed. No specific reviews, no commentary or anything like that on other creators or figures or anything. It'll be more about like kind of behind the scenes stuff, stuff I'm kind of working on for the channel, kind of where my headspace is at the moment with random things I feel like talking about. So one thing I want to talk about here in the first episode is how nostalgia has been kind of changing me personally and getting me to become less interested in, I guess, the political side of things, the social side of things, drama side of things when it comes to like entertainment, YouTube, stuff like that, social media. Been kind of like purposefully leaning into nostalgia lately for a few different reasons, and we'll randomly go over those different reasons here in this video. One cool thing I got recently was a CD player. The past few years I've been getting more into physical media collecting when it comes to like Blu-rays and DVDs and stuff. I have a decent collection from years ago, whenever that was the norm, buying DVDs and then Blu-rays. Recently, a couple years ago, I started to buy a few more, got some new stuff, mostly old, horror films on Blu-ray, stuff like that, to kind of get my collection rejuvenated, I guess you could say, and then kind of just fell off of it. So I guess just fell into the streaming world of things. I'm still there, still definitely watch a lot of stuff on streaming. It's super convenient. It is what it is. But I definitely want to buy more DVDs, Blu-rays, get more into that, and CDs again. I decided I'm going to get into collecting CDs again. So that'll be another type of video I'll be doing soon. I've done some in the past, way back in the day on a different channel, collection updates. So basically I'll collect up some new stuff, DVDs, Blu-rays, and CDs, and I'll go over them, talk about each one I got, and just kind of go over them, rough, quick review kind of thing. And yeah, that'll be the update. I have a few new things, but I decided I was going to save them instead of doing a collection update now and kind of let my collection build up. Give it maybe, 8 to 10 new items and then do the videos that way. That way it's enough stuff. It feels like it's worthy of a video, I guess. Right now I have a few new DVD sets and some CDs, a couple CDs. So not a whole lot to talk about, I guess, when it comes to the new collection, but that's going to be definitely a new thing that'll be incorporated into the channel. Maybe some retro gaming. I have a mini Sega that I mess around with sometimes. Thinking about maybe getting a actual Sega and maybe an old Nintendo or something, and kind of maybe start a small retro gaming collection. I'm not the biggest gamer, but I've been thinking about getting a little bit more into it lately. I think it's the nostalgia thing. It's the leaning into the old stuff. It's the leaning into the fun stuff. So when I have my time away from work and when I'm done with my responsibilities, I can get into maybe some gaming, listening to some music like old school style and, the Blu-ray collection and whatnot. So yeah, and the reason I decided to get a CD player and start collecting CDs again, it's just, again, a nostalgia thing. Obviously, not the most cost-efficient thing to do because pretty much everything's out there on Spotify or Apple Music or something like that. I use Spotify, so it is what it is. But it was kind of just fun to have like a physical thing and to like collect it and to like start building the collection and being like, ooh, I could get these, I could get this discography of this band, and kind of just go back and like have the old slipcovers. And yeah, the cases look a little different. It seems like nowadays they're going to be mostly like this cardboard packaging, but they do look kind of cool. I like how they have them almost like an homage to vinyl, where you open them up and you can kind of see like some cool artwork for the album and stuff like that. So yeah, I do like the setup of them. I kind of miss the old hard plastic cases, but it is what it is. For me, it's about like the physical ownership of the thing. I think it's a elder millennial thing. It's like we always just had the thing, you know what I mean? Like the CD, the DVD, the Blu-ray. Now, you know, everything's a digital library and stuff like that. I just want to physically have it. I mean, I know it doesn't really make a lot of sense because all these albums I'll be buying on CD, I can listen to on Spotify at any time, and they'll sound great. You know, some people would argue it would sound better on a CD. Obviously, everybody says it sounds better on vinyl. I'm not. I leaned into more collecting CDs than vinyl. I might buy some vinyl anyways. I'm thinking about getting into that as well, but I don't know yet. I'm gonna start on CDs. Well, we're just going to start there. And that's because I don't have as much nostalgia for vinyl. I do understand that would probably be the best way to go with collecting physical music like that. Because like I said, everybody knows that that's, I guess, kind of the best way to listen to music. It sounds, I guess, the most authentic and has like the nice crisp sound. But we had CDs, man. That's what I'm like super nostalgic about is CDs. And albums are cool because I like a lot of classic rock and my mom had a lot of albums. So looking at the album art was something I did as a kid and have a lot of nostalgia for as well. But CDs are just where it's at for me, man. That's just, I mean, we had the CD binders back in the day and the towers where you would, you know, stack your cases and stuff like that next to your CD player, all that kind of thing. I'm kind of recreating a little bit of a 90s, early 2000s nostalgia vibe in my bedroom. So it's decorated similar to, I guess, the studio room here, but a little less crazy. There's not as many stripes on the walls. There's more color blocking. There's different colors in the walls, but it's not so much of this. We'll do a video about it one day. Once it's almost there. It hasn't quite reached its final form, but it's getting there. So I'll do a video on it once it does get there. But I do want to set me up like a little music station, like a little area for my CD player and a couple towers for the cases, or like a nice little shelf for some of them or something like that. I haven't exactly figured out how that's going to be yet. Those little towers are kind of hard to find nowadays. They're on Amazon, but they're not under like the Prime thing. They're under like, I guess, private sellers or something like that. So I'll figure that out later. But maybe I'll make one. That'd be fun. Nice and crafty, you know, that could be cool. But yeah, man, it's mostly just for funsies and just, you know, build like a little small collection of some of my favorite bands' discographies on CD again, man. Just fun to kind of pop it in and just like that experience of like getting it and opening it, checking it out, physically putting it in the CD player. I know it doesn't really matter. You can just conveniently put it on my TV, on Spotify or something like that. And, you know, I'll still listen to music that way too. And it's stuff I don't have on CD yet, but, you know, we'll get there. It is what it is. But yeah, there's just something to that. And it's been like calling to me recently, especially with the like focus on nostalgia vibe I've been having lately. So yeah, stay tuned. Collection update will come soon. We'll be talking about some new stuff. Another thing I wanted to talk about in today's video is staying in, being kind of a shut-in for multiple years and how it's affected me. I don't get out a whole lot. I've always been kind of more of an introverted person. I'm not opposed to going out at all. It's not really so much of an anxiety issue. I do have an issue with driving. I'm not great at it. We'll get into that here in a minute. But things have just kind of slowly ramped down when it comes to going out and being outgoing. Because I used to go to a lot of concerts, and they are a good time. Don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-concert or anything at this point or anything. I'm still pretty passionate about music, you know, as I said, starting the CD collection and whatnot. It's gotten even stronger lately with that. Yeah, I'm not opposed to going out to shows even now. I've been to a few in the past few years or so, just not near as many as I used to go to. Lately, I've just been drawn to a lot of other things. I think a big part of it is the party aspect. And yeah, I know you don't have to drink at a show. You can go to a show and stay sober. And it definitely does feel like that's a part of the culture at live events, though, especially like metal shows and rock shows and stuff like that. And the past handful of years, I've really kind of like fallen out of drinking. Went an entire year without drinking at all recently. I'll still have a couple drinks occasionally. I'm not like completely anti-alcohol or whatever. I do think it's bad, but for example, like I had 2 drinks and a Red Bull at a wrestling event me and my brothers went to recently. I've had 1 drink, I think, since then, but just not really like super into it anymore as like a focused activity. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't say that like I'm completely sober, like I said, I'll never have a drink. I'll have a drink or two. It's fine, but it just isn't like the focal point of anything anymore, really. Like I said, it's fine from time to time, but I remember being younger and like going over to a buddy's house after work nearly every single weekend, staying up super late, drinking. I mean, it was definitely the thing to do at the time. And for me, getting out of that, I think, was a lot of different factors. Getting older, it's definitely a big one. Just not having the same energy to stay up late and be drunk and deal with like the hangovers. There's just so much more different now, man. Back in the day, it was just like, whatever, man. I was young. You just hydrate, just get after the day, whatever, man. And then eventually, by the end of the day, you're just ready to do it all over again. Like it's no big deal. But when I hit 30, I noticed a lot of things changed up with that. And I put on a lot more weight, like a lot quicker. It's kind of weird. So when I hit 30, I changed up a lot of stuff, man. Stopped staying up late basically altogether. Started working out, lost 50 pounds, and haven't really been very big on drinking ever since. I've noticed too, when I do drink, since then, since like losing the weight and getting healthy, it just feels almost more like poison. I just feel sickly. I don't feel good. So it's just a lot. My body kind of, I guess, digests it differently now. I'm not sure. And I feel like that kind of correlates with the time that like the more outgoing side of myself started to kind of take a break, like trading nights out drinking for mornings in the gym and stuff like that. Like I specifically remember, friends being like, so let's go drink tonight, woo. And I'm like, nah, dude, I'm going to the gym in the morning. So it was like a movie scene or something like that. It was like literally that. And, a few years later, this kind of stuff kind of morphed into not really getting out too much really at all. But lately, I have been starting to feel the pull to kind of change some things up again. So I do feel like I'm in like this metamorphosis era again. Like I feel like I've hit another one of those points. Like I hit it at 30 and it was like, okay, time to stop staying up late, time to stop drinking, time to lose weight, time to get up early, time to, recombobulate some things in your life a little bit. I think I've kind of reached that point again now that I'm settling into, like, I guess, a new era, I guess you would say, the Johnny Blacklight era of what I'm doing with things and whatnot. Luckily, that's there because I think was able to do this in more of a positive way, because I feel like a lot of people that just like, hermit out and just stop going out kind of ends up in a lot of like depression and a lot of anxiety and stuff like that. And I do deal with a little bit of anxiety and stuff like that. But I don't feel like it's a driving force in this or anything like that. It's just activity. The activity was more of a focus on yourself thing. And I got kind of lost in it for a little bit, I think. And I think that's kind of where we're at now, where I'm come up for air, but now it's like, okay, well, where do I go now? You know what I mean? So it's like the different plane. I've come up in a different dimension, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm starting to feel that pull and that pull to do some different things, but it feels very positive. It doesn't feel like a pull yourself out of the muck. It feels more like okay, it's time to find a new direction maybe, or carve out the direction you're going on in a more of a permanent way, or in more of a consistent way maybe. I'm naturally a very introverted person as it is. I've always kept a small circle. So, I've got some close friends, but not a whole lot, not very extroverted at all. So going from being, somewhat outgoing before to being more like in my own world does feel pretty natural to me. And ultimately, I think that's why I've been able to keep to myself for a while and not lose my mind. So yeah, I just think a lot of factors have changed quite a bit. And so it feels like kind of like starting over, but in a good way. It's a good opportunity to do something different with this like Johnny Blacklight side of myself and kind of, I guess, lean more into some stuff that aligns more with where I'm at today. Luckily, I still communicate with people on a daily basis for work, so my social skills haven't taken too much of a hit since this kind of turning into a bit of a shut-in thing happened. That, combined with me being naturally introverted and I guess a loner type of person, has really helped to keep me focused and keep things in a pretty good perspective. So there's a few different actual activities I want to start getting into that are going to kind of get me out of the house and get me out of these four walls of the studio room. Don't get me wrong, I love being in here and creating content. It's a great place to do it. So I also want to just like kind of get into some different activities that are going to get me out of the house and, kind of moving into the new thing. And one of the things I'm going to be doing soon, and I think I may have mentioned this before in a video, but I'm going to be doing some driving videos. So winter is right pretty much here, and that's when I plan on getting out on the road and doing some exploration type videos for the channel. There's a lot of like desolate, downright creepy spots around where I'm at, and some abandoned locations I'd like to check out too, so stay tuned for that. I watch a ton of abandoned style content on YouTube. Shout out Dan Bell, Proper People, stuff like that. And I've been inspired by these guys for such a long time, man, and have been meaning to get some similar style content going as well. I've just always wanted to do it. Again, I feel like it's a great way to get me out of the house and get me to go do some stuff that's not here. It should go hand in hand with like some of the creepier content on the channel, like the creepy Reddit stories and stuff like that. Maybe I could find a cool location to go read stories at or something. Who knows? I don't know. I just feel like it could go with it. Kind of a peanut butter and jelly type of thing. Plus the fact that I'm going with a variety channel. I know that's like a dirty word on YouTube or whatever. Everybody's got their niche and everything and the algorithm and all that. But I don't know. I just kind of haven't been really worried about that lately. I've just kind of been wanting to make different content, not spread it around on a bunch of channels and just kind of focus on one. So definitely talked about that before, but it's kind of a part of this going with it and just kind of doing things, making content, just letting it be, you know what I mean? But as of now, I don't plan on doing like full-on abandoned exploration, like something you would see in a Proper People video or an older Dan Bell video, but more kind of like some roadside urbex stuff. It's kind of an idea that I got from Dan Bell's more recent videos, where I'll kind of just drive around some creepy spots, maybe film the outside of some old buildings or something. Dan's newer stuff is kind of similar to that. He still does the abandoned exploration stuff, but he's doing it in a lot more of like a roadside style these days, and I really dig that, man. It looks like a lot of fun and a great way, like I said, to get out of the house and see some stuff that's around me that I don't normally see or I wouldn't normally even know is there, along with the things that I do know are there that are weird or odd or kind of creepy. I'm a big atmosphere guy, so even as in life, like just a cool atmosphere. It's like spooky season is like an atmosphere to me. We're going to talk about some spooky season stuff later in the video, but doing some night driving videos or creepy spots, middle of nowhere stuff, out in the sticks. It's just kind of like spooky, you know what I mean? It has like a thick atmosphere, and I like it. And I kind of want to be in it, immerse myself in it, and kind of make some content around it too. And like I mentioned before, I need to get more confident with my driving. That's kind of the only thing I really have anxiety around when it comes to traveling. I know how to drive. I've been driving for years, but I always have a certain anxiety around it, especially if I'm off the beaten path and I'm driving on like different roads or somewhere I don't know. Even with a GPS, I'll get scared that I'm going to like get lost. A big thing I get scared about is I'm going to get preoccupied with like just being anxious and not knowing what, oh God, where's the turn? Oh no. And then I'm going to get into an accident or something like that. That's the worst. I know I got to get over that. And I know that's a thing I need to conquer or whatever. I need to get past that. So I feel like this would be a good way to do it. I think this could be a good, fun, enjoyable way for me to start working on that. Kind of forcing myself out and around to kind of prove to myself that I'm overthinking it and it's not really a big deal. Another idea I heard about somewhere in some video I was watching, I can't remember, is just kind of picking a random road and just going straight for a long time. Like maybe stopping, slowing down to film some stuff, but just kind of seeing, where I end up and like what I end up finding. There's a ton of just long, weird roads out here that just kind of go. So I think that'd be kind of perfect. Also, along the way, like maybe checking out some of these kind of random old like resale shops and the random old general stores that are around, because there's lots of kooky old little shops that are around me. I think it's time I go and check them out and make some content around it. And then it's just some other random stuff I'd like to just get out and do more, genuinely is like I want to get back to the park. There's a really nice park that's super close by me with a great trail that I really need to get back to, get the fresh air, get the cardio going again. Really need to do that real soon because I've kind of slacked off my working out stuff since, the few years back, losing all the weight and all that stuff. So, it's getting, I'm pushing 40 now. So it's like, okay, it's time to get back into it because I've put on a little bit of weight since then, but like I guess a healthy amount. Like I still fit into my clothes and stuff like that. It's not back to where I was, nowhere near where I was. So, I'm still feeling really good. My back's better, everything. So, but, I still need to lock in. I still need to get it going. Still need to get back to it. I don't want to go too long, without, really getting back into it because I've been slowly kind of doing some push-ups and some crunches and some squats and stuff like that. And kind of, I guess, preparing myself to get back out there again. So definitely need to get back to the park because I love a super nice, controlled outdoor spot like a good park. You get a little bit of that liminal space feel a little bit with a great dose of outdoors and some wildlife and whatnot. I like animals a lot, man, but I'm definitely more of an indoorsy type of person, man. Not into camping or anything like that, really. I'm not anti-camping. It's fine, but I'm just not for me. I'm not opposed to getting out there, though, into some nature stuff, man. Maybe a hike or something like that from time to time. That'd be cool. Another thing I'd like to do is just kind of go out and see what's out there as far as these resale shops go when it comes to physical media collecting, because maybe I could find some good deals, find some good spots. Get the collection going on the cheap. Plus, you never know what other kind of weird, odd stuff you'll find in places like those. But yeah, with buying CDs and DVDs and movies again, who knows? Maybe I could find a good little hot spot. Another thing I'm definitely going to be doing is hitting up the flea markets again, man. Dude, I have so much nostalgia around that, man. Me and my mom and my dad used to go when I was little quite a bit. And there's this indoor one that's we used to go to when I was a kid, and it's still there. So I'm definitely going to be checking that out pretty soon. Some of this stuff will be for video content, some not. I don't know how comfortable I'll be like straight up filming vlog style inside of a store or something like that. But I'd definitely be down to film like some driving there, maybe outside, maybe voice over some B-roll if I film a little bit inside. Show the shopping merch haul after, go over it, stuff like that. But we'll see. We'll kind of see how that plays out. Some of this, like I say, maybe even most of this is more about me just getting back out into the world a little bit more than I have been lately. So yeah, that's a plan, man. So yeah, we're going to start getting some outdoor content going and kind of changing things up a little bit. New routines. It's winter. It's time for like a rebirth or something like that, I think, man. So it's time for, me to move into some different things I'm being pulled towards. I feel like that's the best way to put it as far as like the motivation for it. It's like, there's a need and there's a want and there's a desire to do these things for me personally. So I'm going to like lean into that because I did that with, the nostalgia thing. And it's done a lot of really fun things for me. And it's put me in a really good mood, and it's made me just more curious about like old school stuff. It's made me more creative. We'll get into that a little bit at the end of the video. But yeah, man. So that's it on that. I also want to talk a little bit about spooky season this year because we are coming up on Halloween, man. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to get this video out, but I know Halloween is either going to be right there or right past whenever I get this video out because it's very close right now. And I just wanted to talk about spooky season nostalgia and kind of like how I pulled myself out of like drama content and like political, social stuff, and how that helped to kind of fuel the season this year for me. And when it comes to politics, I try to stay informed with some stuff, kind of fly on the wallet with some stuff, and then certain things I'll look more closely into. Just kind of depends on what it is. Definitely won't be getting into anything specific here when it comes to political stuff because I just don't want to bring that to the channel at all. Just want to keep that completely away from this, like the nostalgia content fun. This is supposed to be just like a fun, I don't want to get too debatey here and stuff like that. I don't want to get too real. But yeah, for spooky season, it was definitely a part of my plan this year to purposefully like not pay attention to some of it, quite a bit of it, and just kind of vibe out with the horror stuff, man. And just kind of let October have its own kind of vibe, especially the last 2 weeks. I really, really kind of focused in on those last 2 weeks. I was like, this is all I got left. So we need to like cleanse. I need a spooky season cleanse. So this year, like I said, last 2 weeks, October especially, I just had to make it a point to consume a bunch of creepy content on YouTube and a lot less like political or dramatic content on YouTube and social media and whatnot. Horror movies as well. Also, a lot of classics. Did a lot less scrolling on social media in general. Watched a lot more spooky themed videos and whatnot on YouTube. Belief Hole podcasts, great place to go for some of that. I watched some stories about cryptids and just weird Reddit stories and stuff like that. Creepcast is another good one. And like I said, I made sure to watch a bunch of old classic favorite horror flicks too. I'll be talking about what I watched for spooky season in a Blacklight Rewind episode, probably early November. So just kind of let everything pass. I'll do my notes, I'll do my reviews, and we'll talk about them. But yeah, man, just a ton of old stuff, a lot of like Universal Monster stuff, a few of those. So yeah, man, those are just really fun, atmospheric, and super vibey. And that's what it's kind of all about for me this year. And in general, it's been the vibes, man. But yeah, man, don't get me wrong. I do love me some drama videos on YouTube, some slop commentary and whatnot. Shutting off my brain is an important aspect to me when it comes to like self-improvement stuff. I feel like you need to rest. You need to just kind of like consume some slop every once in a while just to kind of like balance it out. Like a cheat meal, I guess, kind of. Like it's okay to eat McDonald's on a weekend every once in a while. Even if you're working out. I don't know. They say it's kind of good for you. It kind of like messes with your system or something and kind of like boost your metabolism or something. I'm not sure. I don't know much about that. I'm surface level with a lot of that stuff. But, anyways, I've decided to try and kind of retrain my brain to go back this month and kind of find joy in the stuff that I already find joy in anyway. You know what I mean? And kind of just build off of that. And, that's horror movies, that's creepy stories, that's abandoned videos, that's old school music and vibes, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I got back into the CD stuff. I watched a bunch of abandoned videos, some really good stuff. Dan Bell's newest video is really creepy and cool. His Appalachia video. Yeah, just kind of turned Halloween into like a whole vibe this season. And it was super fun, man. Honestly, I feel pretty great. Been keeping a pretty good mood and whatnot. Honestly, a lot less anxiety, I guess you could say. I don't really feel like I missed out on anything really too by changing things up and like skipping past some YouTube videos that I would typically check out. And then like just going for those core interests instead. Heck, I mean, honestly, I'd say I may have even gained more than I missed out on with doing this because I feel like I was able to kind of like truly reconnect with some of this old stuff that I like. And I like it even more, almost in like a different way of looking at it. I guess like revisiting things that I haven't watched in a long time or haven't seen since I was a kid that I was super into, man. I don't know, man. It's just like reconnecting with all that old stuff kind of helped me reconnect with a part of myself simultaneously, as cheesy as it sounds. And that's also, cheesy as it sounds, kind of the whole point of the Johnny Blacklight thing and the channel and kind of everything and the vibe is to kind of hone in and focus on that kind of stuff more rather than getting lost in like this sludge of modern media these days. It just feels really good to just kind of step away and just kind of find a way back. Which I guess brings me to creativity, because I wanted to talk a little bit about how I've always felt like a creative person, I like doing art, I like writing, but like with this whole like focus on old stuff, focus on nostalgia, focus on things that spark joy, you know what I mean? It's really done something for me when it comes to my creative output and whatnot. I feel like it's really like rejuvenated it or something. I want to make more content on YouTube in general. I have a lot, like even more ideas now. Like I feel like I've really tapped into the idea machine or whatever that we kind of, I don't know. I have a theory. I've heard it before. It's not mine, but like, if creative people, like maybe tap into something, some kind of otherworldly thing or other, something that we can't even understand really. And then maybe this is where ideas come from or something like that. I don't know. But I feel like if that's a thing, I feel like I'm kind of tapping into it right now for sure. I feel like I've tapped into it in the past, but I don't know, things have just kind of been a little mundane, a little lullish here and there lately, but I don't know. I feel like this whole experiment of getting into nostalgia and kind of like purposefully focusing on it is, I don't know, it really seems like it sparked that back up, because I wanted to talk a little bit here at the end of the video about my writing project I'm working on. Currently working on a multiple-part illustrated novella series. We're going to call it the Blacklight Chronicles for right now. I guess that's my current working title. I might even change that. I just kind of want to talk about it, and I don't want to reveal the title just yet, so I need to work under a working title. Right now it's going to be Blacklight Chronicles. Like I said, I'll reveal the title down the line at some point. We'll get there. We'll talk a lot more about it. But yeah, I've been working on it for a while now. I guess a few years. Just kind of mapping everything out, kind of figuring out the characters and the story, and kind of just trying to kind of put the puzzle pieces together slowly, little by little. But I've noticed that, like I said, once I locked in with the spooky season thing, man, and like purposely dove back into the nostalgia and fun stuff, man, really had the wheels turning on this project. I had hit like a writer's block moment there for a minute. I don't know, it's probably, I guess I would say about midway through my like rough outline timeline of the series where I kind of just like roughly put all the events in order. So when I do start writing it, it all kind of makes sense and there's not like weird plot holes or like conveniences, stuff like that. I'm trying to avoid that. I want the writing to be strong. So, I'm trying to really sit and cook and take my time in the developmental process and not like beat myself up so much about like, why don't you have more done yet? I'm like, sit here, stew, let it cook, let it linger, whatever. But yeah, I was about, I guess halfway through that point of getting things kind of ironed out a little bit. And boom, I just hit like a wall in the middle. I'm like, where does it go from here? Do I end it here? I'm like, I don't know. Do I cut some of these multiple parts out or what? And where does this go? But here recently, man, I was able to just kind of blast past that little spot and kind of get the structure a lot closer to being completed. I wouldn't say it's completely there yet. There's definitely like a side note where I'm like, okay, you need to add this. You need to talk about this more. You need to flesh this out and these characters and this and that, and then we can get there. But it's getting there, you know what I mean, finally. And it's like, oh, cool. It felt really good. It felt really nice to finally break through that. So I feel like soon I'll really be able to start like really fleshing things out and getting into like writing dialogue and like all that stuff, like super fun stuff. So yeah, man, I feel like really tapped in and inspired with it a lot lately. So I feel like if I can keep this kind of momentum going, I can make some real progress on it pretty soon, man. And to kind of, I guess, loosely describe the story, it's takes place in the 90s is where it starts. It will travel through, it has its own timeline, so it will, lead up to recent events, or more recent events. But it starts in the 90s, and it's going to be a slasher story, but we're going to mix it up a little bit. So there's going to be a supernatural aspect. This isn't just going to be a straight-up slasher story. There's going to be some Dark Realm stuff. There's going to be some good versus evil aspects. There's going to be some cult aspects. There's going to be some lore building. There's going to be lots of different character stuff. There's going to be a lot of action. There's going to be a lot of violence. It's going to be rooted in slasher killing and slasher style violence, but will also be kind of like I said, like a supernatural action-based thriller. There's a lot going on with it. Like I said, that's why I'm staying in this developmental area with it for a long time, because I know that it's a little bit different and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of lore. There's a lot of moving parts that I need to make sure are in the right place before I can like start fleshing this thing out. Because the last thing I want to do is start writing the books out and like fleshing them out and just hit a spot where I'm like, oh no, this actually doesn't really fit, or this doesn't really make sense. So with it being such a crazy story with all kinds of different moving parts and different things going on with it, definitely trying to kind of take things slow with it and kind of build off of my original idea and kind of let it build into what it's becoming. Because it originally did start as more of a regular slasher story, and then I wanted to turn it into more of like an epic. I wanted to go on longer, and so that's when I decided to kind of break it up into multiple parts. And that's when the supernatural aspect comes in, because it makes that kind of make a little bit more sense. And that'll all make sense when you've read it, so you'll get it. But just to give you a little bit, I guess, because I don't want to go too much into it. There's a lot to go into, so it'd be hard to even find a place to start. So basically, I would have to just probably do a dedicated video about the Blacklight Chronicles, or whatever the working title will be when we talk more about it, and then we can go more into like character stuff and whatnot. But again, I don't want to spoil too much, before you even have a chance to read it. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's episode, the first episode of Johnny Blacklight Raw. It was really fun, man. It was a fun exercise just to kind of let it loose and just kind of go and just kind of talk about some stuff that's been on my mind lately. It's all channel related, and also just kind of allowed me to just kind of cook some ideas and get some juices flowing when it comes to content and the channel, and even some self-improvement stuff and whatnot. But yeah, that's going to do it, man. Thanks for watching. I'm Johnny Blacklight. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see you next time.